Fury Joshua be the biggest matchup in all of combat sports?
Hell to the no. Hell to the no. Absolutely not. I like the fight. It's a big fight. I appreciate it because I think Anthony Joshua can box and punch, and we all know Fury is the best boxer in the heavyweight division. I don't think there's any debate that. He's the best boxer in the heavyweight division, but I question his punching power. Yeah, you can beat up people when you're 40 pounds heavier than them. That wouldn't be the case with Anthony Joshua, even though I question his chin, but we shall see. The fight that everybody should want is Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence.
Preach.
Period. That is the fight everyone should want.
Those are the words of Stephen A. Smith. Guys, I give you clips of people trying to spin narratives by people trying to convince other people that certain fights are bigger fights. Okay? Stephen A. Smith was asked, how does he feel about Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury? Of course, they asked, what do you feel about that fight? Is this the fight that everybody wants to see? He said, no. The biggest fight should be Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Okay, now, why? Because Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are both undefeated, both champions, both in their prime. They're both on the pound for pound list. I think Terrence Crawford has by far done more. He's done more body of work from pound to pound everywhere he went. Okay, compared to Errol Spence, has only been in one weight class, so it's hard to see what he can do at 154 or 160 because he hasn't been there. He hasn't been proven yet. But at 147, he's the welterweight champ that a lot of people talk about. And Terrence Crawford's there. And I think for the first time, or for this particular segment of time, this fight should be made because it's just right. That's the fight everyone should be talking about. That fight right there. Not, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. However, that's the big money fight. That's the heavyweights. They generate the money. Anthony Joshua's the cash cow. Tyson Fury's the undefeated Gypsy King with the WBC that he just ripped off of Deontay Wilder and left and somewhat looked back, right, in his rearview mirror. But that fight, it looks like it's going to happen, and it's a great fight for the UK and for the rest of the world. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's a good UK fight. This isn't a Kell Brook versus Amir Khan. These are champions, okay? World champions. The WBO, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC, and the IBO champions, okay? For all four of these major belts are on the line, okay? Including the Ring magazine, by the way. People forget about that. So I think that a lot of people should adhere Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. I don't actually anymore. Why? Because I don't think the fight's going to happen. I hear it's going to happen. I hope it happens. I hope I'm wrong. But that fight between those two guys, slim to none. Because the PBC, they like to do their own thing over there, and then you can't pay them enough to cross over or fight on any other platform or any of that other garbage because they just either get paid too good, it's not worth the stretch, they don't want to take the test, they don't want to they don't want to challenge nobody else. And I've seen that with the PBC. I don't know what is going on over there. I don't know what type of contract or relationship that they have with that advisor, Al Heyman, or any of that stuff, but they don't go over there. It always somehow ends up falling through. Someone gets pissed off at someone else. You know, F you this, F you that. I'm not fighting for that. I don't want to fight over there at all. Those type of things, okay? Now, what didn't you hear Stephen A. Smith say? Okay? You know, I was sent a message to watch Blue Blood Sports TV, and he was saying, the biggest fight belongs to Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury 3. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, another man doing his job. That's all I see. You know, I don't really get angry no more, but you got to call people on the bullshit. You got to counterpunch what ain't right, and what ain't right is what he said. Blue Blood Sports TV believes that the third installment of that fight means more than Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. And that's so much farther than from the truth. Okay, the truth of the matter is that fight, really, people don't want to see that fight. And that's the fight you did not hear Stephen A. Smith say or mention at all as far as talking about fighting again. Okay, now Max Kellerman, of course, the video that you will see before this one states that he's guaranteed some step aside money, so 5 to 10 million or something like that, right? Which we just counterpunched. Nice, clean, and clear. However, with this particular situation, the fight that people want to see is Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, and Max A-manned it, preach, right? So he seconded that notion. And then it's the fight that we want to see that two fighters have already signed to be a part of, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe on down the line, I think Deontay Wilder needs another dancing partner. I'm tired of seeing him chase after Tyson Fury because he did the same shit, people, in the rematch that was supposed to have been, and it didn't be, and it wasn't. Remember in 2019? Of course, that didn't happen either. Okay, so for him to keep chasing Tyson Fury, I think it's redundant. And honestly, I think it's quite insane. You know, because it's like, hey, this guy cheated you. He did you this bad. He gave you spiked water. He did all this. Your coach had to get down on it because you were just so strong and powerful that people had to do all this shit to you for you to lose. No, anybody can lose. Okay, it's not that serious of a deal. Get off your ego trip. Okay, that's all that is. That's that's egotistical behavior because he thought he couldn't lose based on the skills and the things he did in the ring, which wasn't much. Okay, yeah, you got a strong right hand, but dude, somebody's going to figure that shit out. And they did, and his name is Tyson Fury. Okay, but for you to keep bothering Tyson Fury, you know, and wanting this fight, and he did all these bad things to you, I question that. That's very strange to me. Because why on earth would you want that if someone did that to you? You'd want some get back elsewhere because there's no guarantee based on what they claim. Okay, if the commission was behind it, if your trainer was behind it, well, obviously you were going to lose anyway. So you don't have a pony in the show and you don't have no chance of hell to win because he's going to find a way to cheat you. If that's the case, why you want to fight him again? Counterpunch. Stop. But that's not the issue here. The issue is, what's the biggest fight? Okay, argued by Stephen A. Smith, it should be Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, but it's not. Okay, that fight I don't think is going to happen. It could be one of the biggest, but people are not trying to put the money together. People are not, and Errol Spence, he doesn't even want to go that route. I don't believe he wants to fight Terrence Crawford. I don't. You know, again, it's a PBC thing. You know what I mean? But as far as acknowledgement of fights to come, Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 3 is not on the top of the list no more. It never really was. The third fight, people wanted to know, okay, will he beat the piss out of Deontay Wilder the second time? People argued that he beat him the first time. I think he beat him the first time. I think he outpunched him. I think he outboxed him. I think he won more rounds. Sure, Wilder got the knockdowns, but Tyson Fury won that fight. And he didn't even supposed to, because he's supposed to have been too far gone, too fat, too blubbery, you know, was a has-been, and he's coming back to get a payday. Remember that? That, what, $3 million that he received or whatever it was? Okay, so let's stop with all this. The man did things he didn't even supposed to do, right? And now he comes back in shape with after two other fights, and he does this number on Wilder, and I don't think they can really handle it. So, of course, people are going to try to spin it. But it just gives you another perspective on what content people use to try to prove a point to convince all these other people that are delusional also that that fight means more than it really does. And it don't. Why? Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, they are seen by millions of people around the world. Okay, not just smaller stations like this and Blue Blood and all that. We don't hold a candle to those guys. Okay, and they acknowledge what is desired and what's not. Okay, being top-notch commentators. So that's exactly what they do. And Stephen A. Smith knows, okay, that's the biggest fight that should happen, which it should, but I don't know if it will. I doubt it. But Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is the biggest fight that we can make now for the sport of boxing. That looks like it's actually going to happen. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Stephen A. Smith saying that Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence should be over Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.